Well, I've been thinking about what I've called the 5 C's of where money might come from in the future. So that's central banks, commercial banks, which is where money largely comes from now, companies, this old idea of the IBM dollar coming back again, cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and so on and so forth, or communities. And I can't help feeling that there's a kind of back to the future thing going on here. I mentioned in my previous book that the invention of the mobile phone, the social network, creates a kind of collective memory rather like we had in the Neolithic clan that our brains are wired for. And if that's true, which I think it is, then we're looking at more different kinds of money that reflects the values of the communities that we find ourselves in, not the single geographic community of the old Neolithic clan, but the multiple overlapping communities of modern society. That means, rather than having €1 or one world currency, we'll actually have lots of different kinds of money, each of which minimises the transaction costs within specific communities, possibly at the expense of increasing the transaction cost between them. What we see is lots of different kinds of money, and those monies reflect the values of the communities they're in, because we're going from dumb money, £5 notes and things, to smart money that knows where it's been and knows what it's being used for. Well, my way of looking at Bitcoin is like this. It's a primitive technology. It's like the first steam engine. The first steam engine was hopelessly inefficient, but it could do one thing really well, which is pump water out of mines, and that one thing happened to be needed. Bitcoin is extremely inefficient, but it does one thing extremely well, which is anonymous value transfer, which actually I'm not sure if that's needed or not. In fact, I have a lot of reasons for thinking it isn't. But nevertheless, you had this steam engine that could pump water out of mines, and a generation later you had steam engines that could go at 100 miles an hour on tracks from London to, well, a couple of generations later, from London to Edinburgh. So, and what was in those locomotives was a steam engine, but it wasn't the same kind of steam engine as pumped water out of mines. I'm not sure if people sort of take on board. Bitcoin is in a family tree of electronic monies, a tree that's built on, digicash and hashcash and all sorts of things. And there's no reason to think that somehow it's the peak of evolution and it's going to stop. I'm sure the cryptocurrencies of the future will be different. So is it possible that some communities will use something like Bitcoin? I think that's probably true. In fact, I think there's a great deal of evidence that the business community in particular rather likes things like Ethereum because of the smart contract angles. But is it likely that Bitcoin, as it is now, becomes the one world currency, the new gold standard? That seems implausible to me. I mean, the idea that no one's going to invent something better, that's implausible.